It's time to review Thanos #1. Christopher can't write well. I don't remember the name of the artist. We're not really going to get into the art. The art is not very good. And this is a very strange Thanos book, Doc.
This is not a Thanos book if Thanos doesn't even say a word or appear on more than 3 panels in this entire comic book.
Thanos is such a cool character. He's like, one of those mainline villains. He's probably not quite Joker. I don't think that Thanos can carry like an ongoing series. And there are so many interesting things that you can do with the character. Donny Cates absolutely knocked Thanos out of the park and built his reputation in comic books and made himself a superstar. They handed the series over to Tini Howard after that. I would say that did not work out. You actually made Thanos pretty lame. And now they've given Thanos over to, I would consider a peer of Tini Howard when it comes to talent. Christopher can't write well. And he's not seizing the opportunity. I can't believe that you can have a character as awesome as Thanos and you have no awesome story to tell. And you mentioned it earlier, but really the big problem with the comic book is there is no Thanos. There's a credits page where you see him, but it's not part of the story. And then you see his ship once or twice, and then you see him in like 2 or 3 pages, maybe max. And his introduction in the book is so lame and stupid. His first words, "Hear me, Fresno." Why is there no Thanos in the fucking Thanos book? He's one of the most compelling villains. He's one of the most compelling characters in all of Marvel comic books. And he's the reason that you actually paid money to buy the comic book.
It's Chris Cantwell, man. He doesn't want to write men. He just wants to write women. It's the only thing he wants to do. And the only thing he does is then make all the men in their lives look like incompetent goofs. Because he's an incompetent goof. And this is all going to be a book about death.
You know what's weird is he died during that Eternals run by Kieran Gillen.
Yeah.
And even in the opening thing where it gives you like the introductory paragraph about who Thanos is, and it says Thanos was presumed dead, and then like it said, but lives or something. You would think the story would be about what actually happened to him. Where did you go? How did you survive this? They're just ignoring all the story that happened after that, what is probably the biggest hook to it. How did
he come back?
Exactly.
Readers might actually want to read this story, but fuck it. I'm going to give them a Thanos simping over death and her being aloof and not even remembering him story. Because that's what this is going to be. There's a mini series that it should exist between this one and the end of the Eternals story where he died that doesn't exist.
Well, because it's really not a Thanos book. It's just about this goth chick, and I think her name is Marie. Maybe it's not. It was hard to pay attention with all of this stupid internal monologue. I swear the first 8 fucking pages of this comic book are an absolute waste. They do nothing. They don't even really establish the character other than what she likes to listen to and watch on the fucking TV.
Yeah, you establish that she does her makeup before she goes to work. She gets there at 8 a.m. She has a strange obsession with whatever the Marvel Universe's version of The Bachelor is. And then she's really impressed by Blue Marvel's podcast. That's what we learn.
Goth chicks were cool at one point. It feels like it's kind of played out. And obviously this is not Marie, and we kind of get some hints at, but it is certainly not confirmed, that this is actually death on Earth. That is the reason that Thanos has come to Earth. And, hey, Thanos simping over death, it's kind of been done. It's certainly been played out, and it definitely is part of the character. But like this weird version of death that doesn't remember who she is, but is interested in reality television, like that's fucking stupid.
There was like 2 pages of actual story in this. It just was like, hey, we're going to waste all your time. You know what? It's to pad out this miniseries from 2 issues, which is all the meat that there is to it, to 6.
As we mentioned, once we get introduced to the character who's not death, but clearly is death, but is forgotten stuff, and we'll kind of explain that here in a bit, Thanos does make the announcement, watch out, Fresno, here I come. And I guess he uses a laser beam off of his ship to raise up the city. Not like raise the city, like burn it to the ground, but to like physically remove it from the earth and bring it into the air to him.
If they want to do a story where death has been like mind wiped and living as a 20-something goth chick in Fresno, fine. What you do with that story is you have Thanos invade. Nobody knows why he's invading.
And the problem with the story is, as soon as Thanos shows up orbiting Earth and decides to levitate a city off of the planetary surface, The fucking Avengers are going to be here. The Fantastic Four are going to be here. The X-Men are going to be here because they all know what an enormous threat Thanos is. No one's going to ignore it, but no one's fighting him. It's like, why? Everybody would be fighting this guy. They know that he's like an extinction level event unto himself.
Look, I'm sorry. Thanos gets within 100 fucking miles of Earth's orbit. He hits the moon, and the Avengers are going to know about it and start scrambling to catch him, unless he's like teleporting to Earth. We've seen this on a number of occasions. You can have him just like teleport his ship in, cut out Fresno, suck it into space, and just start slaughtering people and have no idea why. You build tension, you build mystery, and it gets people invested. Instead, you can't do a swerve or any sort of plot twist when we already can tell you from the first page what this is going to be about. I knew it was death on the first page.
The worst thing about the book is when Marie, aka Death, meets with the Illuminati. It's not the Avengers. They're not doing anything, but they're looking for her. Christopher Cantwell not only wants to write girl comic books, he wants to write like a girl. This is some Tini Howard, Leah Williams, fucking Stephanie Phillips bullshit here, especially with the dialogue. I'm Iron Man. I know who you are, obviously, and you're Mr. Great. Fantastic, but Reed is fine. And it's okay. A lot of people don't know you're Dr. Adam Bashir, the Blue Marvel. You have the really neat science podcast that I love when you're mean to everyone. And I am Doctor Strange, the magic guy. And your name is Emma Frost. Why do I know that? It's a long story. Loose threads, perhaps, but I'm sensing that she still has no grasp of the larger truth. The psychic block is still intact. Good. You know what, miss? I'm also a living antimatter reactor, and it's just such lame-ass, quippy bullshit, fourth-rate Brian Michael Bendis, teen girl fucking dialogue.
If it wasn't for the fact that I was reading on my computer, I would have thrown the comic across the room or ripped that page out completely. We got to emasculate at least one man. She has to suddenly know exactly who the black scientist guy is.
Because podcasting is more important than being a hero in this universe.
She has to know who the woman is, but even though she doesn't know why she knows who the woman is. First, you start a comic with an emo girl on the first page. Everybody knows it's Death. It doesn't matter. Later into the book, the Illuminati shows up and talks about mind wipes. Oh, she doesn't know she's Death. That's why she's talking like every vapid 20-something that has an obsession with podcasts and reality TV shows. The Illuminati mind wipe Death for fuck it reasons. Who cares? Does anybody really need to care or know why the Illuminati mind wipe Death? Does anyone know or care? And does it matter? No. The answer is no.
There's so much fun stuff to do with Thanos, and certainly you can do a story with Death. Not that it hasn't been done to death already, but I do think you can go back to that well and do something interesting. But to turn Death into every other like stupid new female character that's been introduced over the past 10 years in Marvel isn't interesting.
Look, I'm sorry, but certain characters need to be above vapid consumerist human bullshit. They need to be above it. Something like the concept of death made human has to be above that.
I would say certain characters need to be above Christopher Cantwell. He shouldn't be allowed to write a Thanos. He shouldn't be allowed to write a Tony Stark. He shouldn't be allowed to touch an Avengers team or an X-Men team or any of these major characters. He should sit there and squat on the most lame-ass, boring characters no one cares about. That way he's not actually ruining stuff people want to read.
Well,
because I think he's proven himself. He doesn't sell, and he can't write for anything.
No, I mean, he doesn't sell. He can't write. I think there's a reason why he is failing his way down through the comic industry. Look, he's a Hollywood guy that has been slumming it almost exclusively in comics for what? 3 years now? And each of his next assignments is a lower tier and a lower stature book than the next. He got really fucking lucky with Halt and Catch Fire in the first season. And everything since then has been a downhill slide for his entire career because he had one good idea in his entire existence. And he used it up on an AMC show almost 10 years ago now. This is who he is. Now it's just a matter of how long is he on this book until he fails down to the next level book. What's below Thanos? A character that, while is very high in stature, is generally not considered a solo title carrying character. What's next?
I don't know. I imagine he's going to be writing Wolverine or fucking X-Force. On board on the X-Men line because no one wants to work with it.
I feel like it's going to go to he'll end up at like New Mutants or something. I think that would be a jump back up, even though the X office is significantly devoid of talent. I think he'll still end up with one of the D-list X books before he fails his way completely out of comics.
I cannot in good conscience actually recommend Thanos #1 to anyone. If you're a Thanos fan, do not read this comic book. There's no Thanos. If you're a Marvel fan, do not read this comic book. There's no Thanos. If you're a comic book fan, do not read this. There's no good writing. If you're a fan of comic book art, don't read this because there's not even good art to go with it. It fails across the board.
Yeah, I mean, like I found that the art was the least offensive part of this book.
And it still sucked.
But it was still not good. I mean, there are way too many lines on these women's faces in random places that I don't quite understand. I thought that she was drawing on some sort of makeup line, but no, she was just doing like her mascara or her eyeliner or something. But there's some weird line that goes all the way across her face below her eyes and over the bridge of her nose. And I don't understand what it is. So fuck this comic.
We've known for quite some time that Christopher Cantwell is not the real deal. And he's not even a good Tom King. I think he fancies himself as the next Tom King, but he's just a worse version of that writer for the Marvel Comics universe. And I've talked about it right here. Christopher Cantwell actually can't hold Tom King's jockstrap, and Tom King fucking sucks. There's also a link in the video description.